So how long have you been blacksmithing?
So I
Because you
started,
got the shop, so I'm sure you weren't just like, oh, I've never done this before, but hey,
yeah,
you got one for sale, I'll take it.
yeah. I started that in like 2013. I started, but like I've always played with metal, and I was like considered myself like a found object metal artist. So like I would take junk that I found and turn it into something else. Had pretty good luck with that actually, like going to art shows and selling it. And then I wanted to get into blacksmithing, and the little town that I'm from, the old blacksmith was still alive, and Tom Smith, and he was a blacksmith on a Navy repair boat in World War II, and before Pearl Harbor, he was a blacksmith as
Mm.
well, and he's just a badass, just a badass grumpy old man, and Golden Gloves boxer, all that, just cool. Um, he taught me like from his couch because he was too beat up and crippled to really get to a shop anymore, and his shop was just down the road, like a block away from his house. So he let me get after it in his shop, and that lasted until I enlisted in the army. I got married, enlisted in the army as a reservist, so I could cover, like, get health insurance for my family, do
Hmm.
the responsible thing, and long story short, me and his after he passed away, me and his family kind of got into it, and they decided they didn't want me in the shop anymore. So
Mm.
this is what it is. Yeah.
What was it like? What was your draw to like metalwork and blacksmithing, and because that's not very common. Not a lot of things are handmade anymore. Everything's so
Yeah.
machine made. Like, what was your draw to, and how did you realize that you're actually pretty talented with working with metal?
Um, I just enjoyed doing it. Like my draw was like the artistry of it, like what you can being able to take a hunk of iron and turn it into something that like change it and form it how you want to. Like that control is just amazing, and it's not complicated. It's just like jujitsu. It's full. Blacksmithing is just a bunch of simple techniques, and if you're able to put all those techniques together in the right way, like you can come up with some really neat stuff. And that, I think that was it right there. And when I first got started, I was horrible, just like with jujitsu. But it was the challenge, and I enjoyed doing it. And I just kept at it. Like I've got to stay busy. Like and I've got to. I like doing stuff with my hands.
Mm.
And if I get in my own head too much, like I just go down like it's just not good for me. I need to stay busy. So yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's good to have. I think that's good for all of us. I forgot what we were talking about, but the idea of like men without purpose,
Hmm.
and I'm sure it's this way for females as well. But I'm just a guy, so it's how I view everything, right, from a male's perspective. But but like you look at the amount of um, like drug use, suicides, all sorts of awful behavior from men, right?
Yeah.
In society, and you're like, I feel like a part of it is like so many people don't have purpose.
Yep.
They don't have something they're chasing after, and I think that's like a lot of times people come into things like, for instance, fighting.
Hmm.
That you've seen this plenty of times where there's been plenty of examples of guys who were living a terrible life, and then all of a sudden you're doing terrible stuff, and then they would get into fighting,
Yep.
and then it was instantly they had this thing that they could do, and they had purpose, and they would get feedback instantly about whether or not they're progressing. It's essentially like a game. And even like games, you see so many young men get addicted to video games.
Hmm.
You have this thing where you can instantly see, I'm making progression, I have a purpose, I'm doing this thing. And I feel like so many people lack that. So when you say keeping busy, I more think of it as like, it just feels good to have a purpose. Like I'm
Yeah.
doing something, I'm working towards something, I'm building something, rather than
For
just
sure.
kind of being complacent to
Yep.
wherever you're at.
Yep. Yeah. Before like jujitsu and all that stuff, I was just a hot mess, like a lot of guys were before they discover it. Drinking too much, way too much, way too much, and just kind of turning into a piece of shit. But I didn't have a mission. Like I
Hmm.
had nothing to do after going to college classes and not caring at all about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then I found jujitsu, and yeah, just changed everything. So,
Yeah. When did you start training?
I was 20. So just discovered, like, they ran an ad in the paper, Combative Sports Center, and all my instructors, they had an ad in the paper, and something about it just caught my eye, and it was a block from my house, and I didn't have a driver's license at the time. None of us did in my house of 6 guys. We had all gotten our driver's licenses taken away by the law. So
Birds of a feather.
Yeah, and we all grew up together too. Like, we were all from the same little high school. Like, I'm still good friends with all of them, but my goodness, like, we did some dumb shit. But yeah, I just went and started training, and I was skinny fat, so I went to Colorado, did that, and was just like, I'm going to go to college to get a degree. And I had some really bad, like, I lost my dad and then 2 really close friends in the period of like 13 months, like, in between all that. So I was just completely wrecked mentally, like, just destroyed. And then I found jiu-jitsu, and it started, like, I was still a shit show, but it started dragging me out of that hole. Yeah. I started surrounding myself with men that I wanted to emulate, and I was just happy to be there. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's, again, you found a different type of outlet, you know what I mean? Like drinking, you're drinking, getting in trouble. And then you found, like, and something about jiu-jitsu is, like, if you like learning and if you like challenging yourself, doing difficult things, like, it does pique that interest in you. And then after a while, you just keep kind of like, this is sometimes miserable. Like, why do I keep coming back? But there's a pull there to come back, right?
Yep.
It's a weird thing. Like, what did it do for you as far as, like, getting you out of that kind of slump? But, like, physically, what did you feel, and how were you attracted to jiu-jitsu?
It was like that mental challenge, like, just getting your ass kicked every day. Like, I didn't like that. I liked that feeling, but I didn't like that feeling. Like, I wanted to get to the point where I was the one, like, kicking ass, and I was getting destroyed by, like, people who I thought, like, little guys, or like older, like, guys with beer bellies that were just wiping the floor with me, like, completely destroying me. And I wanted to be that guy, I wanted to. And then, so there's a bunch of, like, soldiers and whatnot that would come to the gym and train from Fort Riley, the 1st Infantry Division's over there. So just being surrounded by a bunch of alphas that had been in the shit, that were all either deploying or coming back for deployments, and the way they carried themselves, like, I wanted that. I wanted that confidence. I wanted that. And, I've never felt, like, worthy of being in that group of men, like, always feel like I'm trying to measure up, but I think you always are when you find, like, a good peer group. You always feel like you're the one that's like, do I really belong here? So,
well, it's a natural thing, I think, with, like, our tribal roots, where, we're within a tribe and we're trying to prove ourselves useful to the rest of the tribe, right? Like, I'm good too. I'm not like you said, I'm not a complete shit show. I'm good at stuff, and I belong here with the rest of you guys, things like that. I think that naturally happens. And I think this is why, like, it's really important to choose your tribe consciously, because you will begin to mold yourself around them, right? So if you put yourself into a group of people that are doing bad stuff, you're naturally going to be like, well, they're doing this, and you're going to naturally fit in if you stick around them, because that's your tribe. You're going to want to fit in. So if they're out.